Hi.
How you doing?
I'm wonderful today. How are you?
Today?
Today, yeah. How are you? Oh, you today. Or
No,
me
no, no, no.
today?
You're wonderful today.
Today. Yeah, yesterday was a challenging day.
What happened?
A lot of getting sort of hit in the face with lots of different stuff, between buyers and sellers and clients and deals and just felt like one of those battering days where I just kind of line up and everybody gets to take out their frustrations on me. Just like, hi, I'm right here. Punch me in the face.
Oh,
But, you'll have those days and, had a little bit of a pity party last night and then got up and did some journaling and got all my frustrations out. And
that works.
yeah, that works for me.
I've never journaled. I make lists
Mm.
of what I need to do for the day, and that helps me organize and feel more in control. But I've never tried journaling.
I have a tendency to hyper focus and when I'm just thinking about things. And if I start to write out and I get whatever I'm hyper focusing on out of my head, then the rest of the perspective and understanding and justifications about why I'm going in a particular direction, all of that starts to come to the surface when I can get like that overwhelming thought that just circles in my head. Once I get that out on paper, for whatever the reason, that physical act of writing it out generally helps me move on from that thought and start to get the perspective, because most of the time that's what it is. I'm just sort of ruminating and focusing too much on the particular day or issue, or like, is this the right direction? Am I doing the right things? Or like, failure and, everything is like catastrophic thinking.
Yeah.
But once I can get that catastrophic thinking sort of out, like written, then
It loses its power.
Yeah, I think so for me.
That's amazing that you figured that out.
Yeah. I mean, I probably should do it more sometimes, especially in the morning. Like I wake up, I don't sleep much past 5. So I got up and just went on the back porch. It was chilly out this morning, grabbed the dog and sat on the porch and, journaled for an hour. And yeah,
That's amazing.
before anybody else gets up.
Do you keep your journals?
Yeah. I only have one. Like, I'm not one of those people that journals every day and like all that kind of stuff.
But it's something you can pull out.
Yeah.
I love that. My dad had a journal. And we have my brother has it now, but we all have read it. And it was the same thing. It's just like random entries when he was going through something.
Yep.
And we're in it. And it was really nice to be able to read.
I would imagine that if somebody read that eventually, that they would really, even if they didn't know me, they would really understand who I am.
I'm going to start journaling.
Yeah.
I'm going to journal today. I'm the opposite. Not the opposite. We all have ways that like our stress kind of like will build up, and mine's physical. So like when I'm really stressed, my body starts to like act up.
Yeah.
And then I will get hyper focused on an ailment.
Yeah.
When it's really something else going on, but
what I've learned through myself is that it's a physical manifestation of sort of you not working through whatever it is mentally or emotionally.
It's just going to work itself out.
Right. It's like your body's physical reaction to you not working it out.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, if you're not going to fucking listen to me when I'm in your head and I'm in your heart and I'm in your gut, I'm going to make something wrong.
Yeah. I'll show up in your shoulder.
Right. Because then maybe you'll focus on your shoulder and give my brain a break, or like,
yeah.
Or
that's what
like
happens to me.
Or like, pay attention to me. It's your body's way of telling you to pay attention to it.
Have there been like any reoccurring, just like you keep having to work through stuff like this year?
Not so much reoccurring, but it's a constant back and forth between like focus, like dedicated focus to a path that I've decided on, and then sort of picking your head up and evaluating whether or not that is the right path or not. And I don't know, maybe there's some people in this world, in this life that sort of have a 100% hit rate on, like, they make a decision and that's the right direction that they go. For me, it feels like I can make a decision and I think about it and it's, sort of a calculated decisions. But until I actually get into it and live it and feel it, sometimes I get into those things and it doesn't feel the same way that I expected it to, or it doesn't produce the way that I expected it to, or maybe their circumstances change and there's a new direction. So it's sort of that constant thing. And I think earlier in my career, I chose a path and pigeonholed myself and stayed very structured to that path for an extended period of time. And it did create a lot of, positive things, but it also created a lot of negative as well.
Negative being
Mental, emotional, spiritual health.
because you weren't like recalibrating.
Correct. So it was,
You were just like doing the exercise.
regardless of, there was always positive to things that I was obsessive about
Routine's great until it's not.
until it's not.
Yeah.
Especially if you ignore the other signs and symptoms that are coming up. So, I prospect and cold call for 4 days, 4 hours a day for 5 days a week for 7 years of my life until I was so burnt out that I just couldn't do it anymore. I was so mentally and emotionally broken. Now, the positive was that I built an incredible business and I made a lot of money and I supported my family and accomplished a lot of like financial goals that I wanted to.
Yeah.
But it was at a cost. And I think to a certain extent, I was okay with that cost for a while, and then I wasn't.
Yeah.
And that was the same thing with working out. I had this vision of what I wanted to do athletically and physically, and I pushed myself very hard for a very long time. And that was good until it wasn't. And I realized that the amount of work that I was doing on my body was actually, like, appearance-wise, physically, it looked good, but structurally and mechanically and like internally, it didn't, like, everything was breaking down.
I'm there.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I like started doing spin last March, over a year ago, and I just went all in, and I was like, I know this isn't healthy. It's the same movement and this isn't good for you. And I'm not stretching enough and I'm not taking enough breaks, but I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I want to feel the way I feel after spin class every single day. If it's showing up, like, your body keeps score.
Yeah. Well, you like that feeling because it's control, right? Like, I imagine it's something that you have control over, and like it's almost like you're using that as an outlet.
Yeah.
Again, not to deal with some of the shit that you probably should.
I have never spun so much last spring when I was going through so much personal stuff.
Yeah.
And I just like went ham on the bike.
Yeah.
Which is good. At least I wasn't like drinking every night.
Well,
but like, it's still, when you don't deal with stuff, when you don't recalibrate, realign, like when you don't do, your body needs balance. Life needs balance.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when we go a certain direction, we go so hard in business and parenting and working out that it's off balance. And even with all the good intentions and the correct direction, doesn't matter.
But part of that is the issue is that if you're doing something negative, there's always a lot of people to remind you that perhaps the negative activity that you're doing, like if it's drinking or smoking or sex or whatever it might be, like all of those things sort of have a negative, right? Like not working, like all of those things, people are like, hey, maybe cool it with the drinking, or like, and you think about it negatively and you'll ignore it. But like with positive things like working out and with making money and running businesses and all that kind of stuff, it's not as easy for people to go, hey, I know you made $1 million last year, but is that really what you want? That's a very hard thing for people. Like even in a position of leadership and coaching, it's a very hard thing for people to question, because on the surface, it's a very positive thing, right? I think that's where you have to, again, have the right people around you that are willing to sort of every once in a while, like kind of walk up, smack you in the face and say, hey, you thinking about this right? Or have you questioned whether or not?
How's everything else in your life going?
Right.
How's balance?
Yep.
How the kids? How's your marriage?
Yep.
I know business is booming. How's your heart? Exactly. People are so quick to say you're off balance negatively, but not off balance in a positive way.
One of the things that I want to be clear about is that I don't judge anybody that decides to do that decides to sort of prioritize their health and fitness over, or prioritize the visual appearance of health and fitness over their actual body being healthy or making money. And, I don't know that there's a true balance in life. Like if you're going to have outsized outcomes, there has to be a sacrifice on one side or the other. Oh
yeah. Tom Brady was a maniac.
Right. But at the same point, like, I think it's important for people to make conscious decisions, like understand when I was building my business, I had no idea what it was doing to me, like mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. I ignored that and wasn't really aware. Now, had I been aware, I might have made the same decisions and done the same
Because it was a
activities.
finite period of time.
Sure. And that's fine for people. But I think it's really, really important for people to understand what the cause and effect are. Like, if you're going to do this, you have to understand that there's a certain sacrifice that you're going to make in life. If you want to be the best
at something,
you're going to sacrifice a lot. If you want to be a collegiate athlete at a high level, like D1 or like a track and field star or like a gymnast or something,
the best
you want to make
it in the market or
whatever,
in your town.
There's going to be a sacrifice. And so again, I think it's about an awareness and an alignment, and people just making very conscious and educated decisions versus being unaware of sort of the downside to certain things.
And you've talked recently a lot in the office about how you're having to, like, you had goals and you had a business plan in the beginning of the year and you're having to recalibrate. You admittedly say you weren't good at it in the beginning of your career. You would just go all in and not look up.
Yep.
And it didn't matter what was happening next to you or behind you. You were headed in that direction, and people could either come along or not. And you're in a different spot in your life. You are headed in a direction, but you're constantly looking around you at your family, at your teammates, in the mirror, and more aware of that. And that requires a lot of fine tuning.
Yeah. And I don't know that it's constantly, but it's selectively, right? Like, I think that there's period of times and there's seasons in your life where you need to sort of put your head down and work sort of the objectives that you've set forth. And then I think the responsibility changes over time, where when you're an individual agent or you have maybe an assistant, speaking specifically about real estate, but like when you're an individual agent and you put your head down and you're solely focused on making money and building a business and all that kind of stuff, the responsibility is really just to you and maybe your family members. But when you're in a position of sort of influence and attention and leadership and people rely on you, the decisions that you make and the direction that you're going has a bigger ripple effect on sort of everybody that you're working with. And so and maybe this is just me personally, but I do feel more of a sense of responsibility to just make in the moment that I am the most educated decisions and go in the direction that I feel most compelled that is going to benefit sort of the greater good. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not just looking for myself anymore, just make more money and buy this house and buy this watch. Like, it's like, well, if I go in this direction, what does that give me the opportunity to do? If I focus on this, does this give me more time and energy to have a bigger impact? Or am I going to be able to go in this direction for 6 months and then I've got to switch it around because it just feasibly financially doesn't work? So I think these things it's a balance of sort of making decisions and going full steam in a direction that you choose, but then at the same time, understanding that every once in a while, and I don't know whether that's quarterly or every 6 months or once a year or every 2 years, depending on what you're doing, but you have to look up and you have to look around and make sure that the direction that you're going is still in alignment with, or will still produce the intended results.
Who are the people that help you do that? Colleen?
Sure. Yeah. So my wife, Colleen, my coach, Aaron, mastermind sessions with a lot of other great real estate agents, but going to events. So like I was just down in Dallas at an attractors event, and some of the top, real estate agents in the entire country were there. And it was a room full of, 250, 300 of, the most outstanding real estate agents. And I don't even qualify to be there, but I was invited, and certainly I'm not going to pass up that opportunity. But when you're in a room like that, you can start to get perspective, ask questions, look at the direction that other people are going, and determine, just use it. I mean, this is my analytical thing, but for me to make a decision, I have to have enough information in order to be really convicted about that decision.
You feel like you're recalibrating right now, like it's June. What direction are you headed? And what changes are you having to make right now? Or recalibrations. It's not necessarily a redirection.
No, it's always a balance of where are you spending your time and your energy? How much energy are you putting into one particular directive versus another? Because everybody's doing, like, if you're in growth mode, there's a certain amount of you have to dedicate enough time to the existing business that you have in order to afford the opportunity that's in the future. But when you're in growth mode, you're doing things that are uncomfortable. You're doing new things that take time and energy away from
what's established.
And it's always a balance of like excitement and enthusiasm and, motivation to grow and learn and start new things. Much of that established thing that I already built is how much energy and time do I need to give that? And how much energy and time do I want to give that? And sometimes that's sort of what I'm recognizing right now, is that I love the idea of growth, but I also am recognizing what sort of fills me up and what brings me joy. And sometimes it's the grass is green on the other side. Like, it's like, I want to get away from this. But as soon as you get away from it, you recognize what you really loved about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Has that happened recently?
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, grinding as long as I had with selling real estate and getting to the point where I was doing 80 or 90 transactions personally, that level of real estate, I don't care who you are. If you're doing 60, 70, 80 transactions per year in real estate as a sole agent, even if you have support staff,
even if you love it,
that is the commitment of mental and emotional energy that you need to give to the business. It's a crazy amount and crazy dedication. So anybody that's doing that level of business, I admire, right?
I can relate with like photos. I love doing photo shoots, and I love doing real estate photo shoots and design ones. If I have any more than like 6 a week, I hate it all. It all just becomes absolutely exhausting, where if I have a couple and I can go in and really enjoy it and take my time, and there is a threshold. There's a number where it starts to become no fun.
Yeah.
And I think you reached that number.
Yeah.
Because it was a goal of yours.
I think when you scale a real estate business anyway, like there's like the first thing to go was like administrative work, right? And you free up that administrative work, and all of a sudden you can dedicate more time and energy to more clients, right? Mm-hmm. And then I personally decided to go in the direction of hiring a listing manager. So like, I haven't done MLS inputs in 5 years. Then we hire photography and videography, and then we hire transaction management. And so you start to dwindle down the amount of activities that I do. What that does is that means that I am dealing with the most skilled and emotionally and mentally draining aspects of the job, right? So what I do on a daily basis is I go out and I prospect and find business, and then I have very difficult conversations and I compete. So I compete against other real estate agents to earn business, which is a difficult thing. And then I negotiate with my clients to get them to understand their options and what perhaps is in their best interest, or I believe is in their best interest.
Those are tough conversations.
And then when things don't go as planned, I negotiate and have difficult conversations with sellers and buyers on why and what, and support them along the entire way. And it's a very stressful process for anybody to move, regardless of how well it goes. It's always stressful. Yes. And I have I take on a lot of emotion from people, and I've learned that over the years. But so I try to take some of the stress and anxiety from people. And I think like physically, I try to take it and I don't know if people believe in energy transfer, but I literally try to take some of the stress and anxiety away from folks, both with what I can say and the perspective that I can give in conversations, but also just like literally try to relieve some of their stress and anxiety. So if you boil it down, and then you're negotiating, and then you're dealing with problems. So once a property goes under contract, my wonderful team takes care of a lot of the particulars,
but
right?
Honestly, sometimes that's the more like the methodical stuff is the more relaxing part of it.
Yeah.
It's the relief part.
Yep.
And you aren't doing that.
No. So then you talk about 60 to 70 to 80 clients with probably 100 prospects with another 5,000 sort of leads. And all you're doing is having difficult conversations, competing, and solving problems. And you do that on a daily basis for a number of years. And I don't care who you are, you're going to get burnt out.
Yeah.
And so I think that by virtue of the structure, and that was all really intentional to be highly profitable and scale the business and that sort of thing, because that's ultimately how you make an outsized amount of money in real estate is by scaling that. And that's why most real estate agents like cap out at doing like 15 to 20 transactions, because that's a state where you can do a deal and a half a month. You're dealing with 20 sellers. You know, you can get into a decent rhythm and make a decent living. But when you try to scale and then you bring everything on. So, you know, when I was at that point, it seemed like
I don't like this anymore.
Yeah, you just get burnt out. And like, I don't know, I think everybody gets to that point, and maybe it's like midlife crisis or just sort of putting your heart and soul into.
I think no matter,
so long.
Yeah, florists feel that way, photographers feel that way, investors feel that way. I think it's like a universal point in the career.
And so then you look at the direction, and I felt like I gained so much sort of knowledge and skills over the years that when presented with the opportunity at EXP to jump into leadership and attraction and coaching and training, that was really, really attractive for me. And I think it still very much is.
Yes.
But when you look at turning the dials and you go, okay, well, we can solve a financial sort of requirement with a thing that, you know, is really interesting and I'm really passionate about, then you go, okay, yeah, let's go in that direction and let's put this in place. And this was all really calculated. Again, like my desire wasn't to be sort of fully out of real estate initially, and it still isn't, but it was to be able to bring in another agent to help with some of the heavy lifting of all the negotiations and all of the communication and solving problems. And
the emotional
I thought
exchanges.
that if I could, you know, have help with that, it would allow enough time and energy to go out and help and serve other agents, right? Lead them and coach them and do speaking engagements and help them grow their businesses.
Which was more like filling your cup than emptying it.
Correct. What I've recognized is that when you stop paying attention to people that are feeding you, when you stop giving them your attention, it's not intentional, but those people are going to stop sort of like supporting you. Right. And it's, again, I don't think it's an intentional thing like, oh, well, I could refer this over to Ben, but I'm not going to. Right. It's just you lose sort of that top of mind. You know, I used to talk to every one of my clients like 3 to 4 times a year.
Which takes a lot of time.
Takes a lot of time, right?
But it's important.
But it's important. It developed these relationships. And then social media.
And it nurtured them.
Right.
Yeah.
And social media, while it wasn't great, it was, hey, I'm in real estate, I'm in real estate, I'm in real estate. And that's all it was. And now I don't have those conversations as frequently, which I have gotten back into, but I don't have those conversations with my database as frequently anymore. My social media intentionally was sort of pivoted to sort of coach and teach and guide other real estate agents, you know, while at the same time I'm doing real estate. But I think the focus of our content has been more like guiding other agents. And so I think that in connection with the market and the shifting and everything else, I think the dials were just too in the, no, I don't want to use the word wrong direction, but they were just turned too far in one direction. Right.
Yeah.
And so when you pick your head up and you go, okay, well, we need to do more of this. Plus, I sort of miss that connection. I'm an introvert by nature, right? My social life and my family life is somewhat introverted. Like we enjoy being at our house like in our little farm stand and, you know, doing stuff with just my wife and kids. And that's okay with me. I do like social interaction. It's not that I don't. But that was also easier when I was having 10,000 conversations with the community on a yearly basis.
Right.
Right. So I would come to the office and I would extrovert the shit out of my entire day.
Right.
And then I would go home and I would be fine being introverted.
Yes.
But now that I'm somewhat isolated more on an introverted basis on a daily work schedule, and then I go home and I'm introverted, I think it's too much introversion. Introversion?
Something.
Sure. So I think it's like it's one of those things where I don't know that I would have had that realization until I sort of pulled back from it.
Yeah. To realize that it was healthy for you to push yourself in that way and be extroverted in ways.
Right.
And
perhaps that comes from a different avenue down the road. But I also, especially while the kids are young and I'm part of the community and all that kind of stuff, like I genuinely enjoy like sort of seeing people throughout town and being, you know, a person that people call when they need something, whether it's real estate or otherwise.
Yeah. It was just like too much of everything you thought you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that happens all the time. You're like, I want that so bad. And you get it and you're like, that was too much.
Yeah.
Cake.
It's sort of having the awareness in the moment to recognize that, because I think what I have done in the past, and perhaps what some of the people watching have done, is that once you sort of, especially if it's a difficult decision, if you make a decision and go in a particular direction, then it's really hard for, and myself included, but for most folks, to then say, you know what, even though I went in this direction and it sort of has slid me, too far off path, and to make a decision to stop doing that or to pivot in another direction. So it's like
to recalibrate, realign back. And also, especially if you're vocal about it, because I tend to be very vocal about my decisions. Yeah.
And people could say that I'm a flip-flopper. And I mean, you could make that argument where I make a decision and then I go 6 months later, I go, you know what? That decision doesn't seem to be working out as well. And I'd rather be considered that, and maybe it's a bad thing, I don't know. I'd rather be that person that constantly reevaluates and doesn't get too far off track than just sticking with something because I said I was going to stick with it.
Yeah. Don't be the one that's like just going to steer the ship towards the iceberg, because that was where you set your...
Right. Well, I told everybody I was going to go in this direction, so I'm going to go into it until I fall off the cliff. Right. Like, I'm not going to do that. I think the expectation that you're meant to know the right path and make the right decision every single time is a crazy expectation to have. I don't hold a lot of fear of being wrong anymore or changing my mind.
Because it's not wrong. It's just, it was a little bit too much, so I'm going to have less now.
Yeah.
Like, that is normal human behavior.
Right.
Or that's actually not normal, healthy human behavior.
Like, I'd rather be a person that's willing to make those decisions and make those changes and take the risk and then have to recalibrate than never take them at all.
That takes a special kind of person. I know a lot of people that can't do that. The fear of the unknown, the what if this doesn't work out is paralyzing to them.
I think it's like a faith and belief in yourself. Like, one of the things that Aaron Novello, who's my coach, one of the things that I think I'm most grateful for is he's sort of instilled a faith and belief in my ability to work hard enough to do the activities, to pick the direction, to be an evaluator, to like, I have a lot more confidence and belief in myself now than I did 5 years ago. Like, I almost attributed my success to happenstance and proximity to other people. And because I was, I had a mom that was in real estate, and then she put me in touch with Mike Ferry, and Mike Ferry's coaching system was great for me at the time. And then, I didn't really believe that I was as responsible for the outcome as I was. I think what a good coach and mentor and a good advocate does for you is it highlights, it almost puts a big mirror up, and it goes, listen, you have produced amazing results your entire life. And when you haven't, you've shifted and you've gone in a new direction, and then you've created another outsized. You've done all of these things that you're not seeing right now. And we talked about that a little bit, where I have to journal to get over what's going on in my head, to understand the perspective and how far I've come, and what impact I actually am having positively on other human beings. And like, when you start to focus on all of that stuff, you start to get energized and you start to realize that you are on the right path and you can do this. And
my life's not falling apart.
Like, I'm not going to end up broke alone and by myself. Like,
no, you're not. So that's the other thing is, like, I have to work on this with my kids even. Like, what would happen if you did fail? Like, absolutely nothing. You'd still come on that test. You'd still come home to mom and dad.
Yep.
And sleep in this bed and have your cats and your dog. Like, you'd still have everything that's valuable to you.
Right.
And you are not going to make a decision. Like, you talk about someone that's willing to try something, but only as long as, like, your marriage and your health and your relationships are going to be intact. Yeah. You're not going to go, like, haywire.
Right.
But some people won't even do that. They're like, I can't handle any kind of change. And I feel that. What if taking on work changes my home life too much? Then you just recalibrate and you do less. But it is so scary to make the wrong decision for people. to feel what feels like the wrong decision. But you have to be around other people that are like, it's okay.
The outcome of a decision is much less catastrophic than the catastrophic thinking that you think is going to happen. And you just pointed that out, right? Like, so there's an exercise that we do with the kids, which is like chair work. So in one chair, you play it out, worst case scenario, you get yourself really worked up and you sit there and you say, okay, well, like you get your heartbeat racing and you like, you can cry, you can imagine all the worst, everything that's bad. And right, you can get yourself really worked up. Your heart rate starts going, you start sweating, you feel like you're going to have a panic attack. And then you go, okay, in the other chair, I just want you to be calm and centered and peaceful. And you do that and you go back and forth, right? And you do it 2 or 3 times. So then you go from being calm and peaceful to working yourself up. It allows your mind and your body to make the connection that you have control over sort of like your feelings, a physical manifestation of your feeling. And you really do. And once you're aware of it, mentally aware of it, because in the moment when you're getting worked up and you have anxiousness and tension and worry and fear, like it feels like your body feels that.
It feels like you're out of control.
And it feels like you're out of control.
You're always in control. Yeah.
Correct. And you can mentally and physically change the entire outlook yourself. You have control over that. It's just not easy, but that chair work really seems to help. The journaling will really help. Like those are all really useful.
So what are you doing now? You've had like in June, I feel like you looked around and said, how's everything going?
Well, it's really been the course of like the past 2 months, because normally the spring market comes around and based on sort of the business that we've created and the longevity in the business, normally again business picks up a lot in the spring real estate season. And what I've noticed this year is because of the disconnection and that different path, the business just hasn't been here. And when you lose that business, you start to appreciate not only financially is part of it, right? But like you also start to realize what you're losing and what you enjoyed about doing all of that business. And I don't think without sort of stepping back and losing that, I've appreciated what I enjoy about it. And I think the enjoyment comes from the connection that I have with the community and the connection that I have with my clients. And I don't know that I can ever get back to the point where I'm doing 70 or 80 transactions personally. Like that is just not in alignment with what I want to do. But do I want to work with 30 or 40 clients per year that I really enjoy working with?
And also support your team.
Yep.
Ashley, Kristen, and Pedro right now, who are also doing 20 to 30, have their own goals. Ashley's goal is, I don't even know how many, but you're also supporting her. So you're doing your own normal number, feels good number.
Yep.
While also supporting several other agents doing their feel good numbers.
Well, supporting.
But nobody is like at burnout mode. And that's the best.
Unless that's very intentionally and they're very aware of that. If somebody wants to come in and get proximity and go crazy and try to do 60, 70, 80 transactions a year, I will support that. But I'm going to be that advocate that's going to hold up the mirror, and I'm going to talk to them about mental and spiritual and emotional health. And I'm going to talk to them about relationships. And I'm going to talk to them about, does that car that you just bought, does it actually feel like you need it to feel for the sacrifice that you had to make to get it? I'm unattached to whether or not it feels good enough for people, or if that's the direction. Maybe it doesn't, but they still want to do it, and that's okay. But
because they have to find their own burnout or their own edge.
Correct. But I'm going to do my best to make them aware of certain situations. And so right now, I think that there's part of me that wants to commit to being a bigger part of the community. And I don't think it's valuable for me to sell real estate if I don't want to sell real estate. I don't care how good you are at it. If your heart's not into selling real estate, then you shouldn't be doing it. Now, most people do it because they have to, not because they want to. If they're highly successful, they create lifestyles that require them to sell a certain amount of real estate. I feel like I didn't want to get to the point where I was doing it just to do it over and over again.
I mean, we all know those. It could be in any kind of career. Like you can tell when someone's just doing it.
Into it or not into it.
Yeah, whether they're excited to work with you or not.
And so now I just want to be passionate about the work that I'm doing and the connection to the human beings that I'm giving my life energy to. And we had an experience over the past month or two working with some really great clients, and they were very kind and outgoing enough to sort of share a lot of positive feedback about the experience and what they're doing. And that was always the goal, is to create a team of people that can help support folks going through a very stressful and chaotic time in their lives. And when you start to get that feedback from people that they really appreciate it, and they see that, and that the team that we put together is so amazing, it sort of is, at least for me, that feeling was like, oh, I still have a passion to help folks experience that. And I also want to, at the same time, coach and lead other agents to be able to provide that experience and feel what that feels like. So I think, like you said, it's a little bit of realignment, recalibration of, how much time and energy am I giving one thing versus another thing? And I think that I can still go and lead and coach and guide people, real estate agents, while at the same time having a connection to the community and doing it. And maybe not at the scale that I once did. Maybe I'm not doing, and I won't be doing 80 transactions personally, I don't think, ever again, unless it aligns with something that I want to do down the road. But because again,
Never say never.
I can't say never again, right? But I think I have a passion to work with folks throughout the community to help create that sense. And I think it's good from modeling, and it's good from the idea of leadership, and it supports our team. And
I think too, that client experience that you just had, and they were like, everything was so seamless. And it reminded you, oh, I did set it up right.
Yeah.
Like, I do have the right people in place. My team can provide that experience for clients.
Yep.
And I can replicate that.
Yep.
You can teach the balance needed.
Yep.
What you need to look for to create this experience for clients and yourself, and one day your team. You are going to continue to travel this road or this path and recalibrate and just, pull a little bit back over here and give a little bit more over here. That will constantly be necessary. And it's not a bad thing, and it's not wrong or right. It's just, like driving.
Yep.
You've got to constantly just be like, kind of adjust.
I think it's important too, because I know we touched on it yesterday, that yesterday was a difficult day. And if I'm just being honest with you, like, it's not like I sit here and proclaim that I understand and I've got all of this. Like, I was like broken yesterday at 7 p.m. talking to my wife about.
After how many years in real estate?
Right. 20 years in this business. And seemingly from the outside, I mean, our company still does a tremendous amount of business, even this year where we're down. Like, there's a lot of things that go right, and I still question, right? I still ruminate about decisions and question myself. I don't mean to indicate that I have it all figured out. Just like there's a balance of going back and forth between like a direction and picking your head up and looking around. I think there's a similar thing where if you're not honest with yourself, that you have these emotions and have these sort of fears, and you question yourself and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a realistic thing. And I think I'm more realistic now than I ever have been. And I'm just honest. I'm honest, maybe to a fault, with the community and what I tell other agents and people on podcasts. But doing that to everyone else allows me to be honest with myself. And I have a harder time, I think, being honest with myself than I do with other people.
So it's a roundabout way.
Yeah. It just allows me, like, this is almost therapeutic, right?
Putting it out there.
Yeah.
Being accountable, but also just being real. And people have such an appetite for that.
I think it's a product of social media, right? Like, there's a lot of inauthenticity out there. And so when people see it, when people believe that you're just being authentic, I think that matters.
I've said it so many times. Like, we have an unusual, I mean, I do think it's primal to be able to like sniff out the fake.
Mm-hmm.
But even more now, we're so honed in on it because of like all the faces we see on our phones every day.
Yep.
And what people are saying. I think you had to go a little to the left to like find center. You'll still like navigate that, because then next year you'll figure it out for this market. And then next year's market will change.
It'll change.
And then you'll have to readjust. And you'll be like, whoa.
Center might be somewhere else. And that's okay too. And I don't know that I'm ever going to, like, my expectation is not that I'm going to figure it out and then be keen and hunky-dory.
No.
I don't believe that that's life. And that...
Because then something will happen at home. You know, that you'll have to recalibrate that.
But I also think that, like, if everything goes right all the time and then, like, I have found the path and then I'm stay on that path for a very long time, like, I don't know that would be interesting enough for me to sort of sit back.
Oh, really?
Enjoy.
I would love that.
You wouldn't, yes, though.
Oh, my God.
You would for a certain period of time.
But you know what happens when things are going right? I'm like, all right, what's coming? Like, what's headed my way? Life doesn't work this way.
Yeah, I think that's your brain. Like, that's my gremlin that talks to me. And it's like the catastrophic thinking thing.
Yeah, I wait for the other shoe to drop.
Right. But I think it's just like, if you talk it all out, that's the thing, is that every time I get into a situation, and again, I have great people in my life that I can talk things through with, both here at the office and at home, and coaches and mentors and stuff like that. But that's where a lot of the times when you work things through, it's not even so much like somebody telling you, it's somebody allowing you the space to talk. And when you just talk through it, like, all of a sudden you get the perspective and the realization that you're not far off. You're not, like, things aren't going to be as catastrophic as your brain is making them out to be. You're closer than you are. You have more beauty and passion than you're giving yourself credit for. But again, you've got to stop and see that perspective and get that perspective. So that's why, sometimes proximity is the most important thing.
Yep. Who you've got around you. 5 most important people. 5 people. It was good talk. Yeah. I think, like, this is real. This is normal. This happens in every single, like, no matter what you do in life, like, this is required.
Well, that's where I think podcasting is. That's why I think it's been so effective, is because it's illustrating in the moment that real people have these feelings too. Because if you're not getting perspective, if you think that it's only you that struggles and that ruminates about decisions and that has fear of failure and that has concern over
things don't work out, like, if you just think that it's you, then you blame yourself. You're like, well, if I was stronger, if I made better decisions, or if I was a better salesperson or a more convincing person or better looking or more in shape, like, then I would be happy. And you look at other people, and on the outside, again, because everybody gives an appearance, or most people give an appearance that is the best version of themselves, you sit there and you look at everybody else as perfect, and you've got all these problems. And I think these podcasting spaces allowing people to get a realistic idea where everything on the surface might look amazing, but that's not the experience that the person is having. Like, I don't know that there's anybody that's just so centered and at peace that, like, everything goes right and, it's just a wonderful existence all the time. If you think, and if you're striving for that, then you've set impossible goals for yourself, and you're putting so much pressure on yourself to make the right decisions and to act correctly. And I don't know that that's something that you can accomplish, like, succeed at. You're right. It's like everyone's got a story, and that, like, the most interesting stories are the ones with, like, sometimes the worst pieces and the worst chapters.
Yeah.
But it's just a chapter.
Yep.
But this is part of yours.
Yeah.
So we will, like, recalibrate, realign soon.
Yeah. We're gonna have a great rest of the year. Again, just point in the right direction, and I shouldn't even say that. Not pointing in the right direction, but just
recalibrating. Realigning.
Yep.
Speaking of, we got that, like, we have the new realign experience.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Talk about uncomfortable. But yeah, when is it? September
18th.
I love how Sandy just looked at me like, come on, man. I don't know. Details are not my thing.
September 18th.
September 18th? Is it really? Yeah, cool. September 18th.
So yeah, it's September 18th, literally the realign experience, which is what you're experiencing this year. And you're going to share your story, and, like, it's not your story, it's just, like, your story right now.
Yeah.
And then we've got 2 other speakers coming in.
2 other amazing speakers coming in. And so it's going to be a half day, 3/4 of a day event up in Norwood. We have some wonderful space. It's going to be somewhere between 100 and 125 agents. So I think
Not
it's
a
gonna
hotel
be
conference room.
not a hotel conference room. We're going to have some food. We're going to have some fun. My hope is to inspire a lot of agents, but also to bring together a wonderful community and at the same time give really tactical information that people can walk away with to improve their businesses. So, as much inspiration as it is sort of tactical, real life things
need
that they
both.
can do. Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a good mixture of that, and it should be an amazing event. So we're going to start talking about it a little bit more, but since we just finalized the 2 other guests that are flying in for the event, we'll start dripping out some information on that and rock and roll.
Cool.
All right.
Realign together.
Excellent.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.